Hello and welcome to another Fresh from the Theater vlog. I just saw Deadpool 2 and how do I describe my initial thoughts after it ended? No other way to put it, just oh my god. Like, this movie was just, it was great and dare I say, even better than the first one. Let me try to summarize Deadpool 2 in a way that maybe Deadpool himself would put it. The first Deadpool movie I thought was very great. I love Ryan Reynolds in general, and he just owned that character, and Deadpool 2 makes Deadpool 1 look like a limp dick. And Deadpool 2 itself looks like what would happen if the host took a Viagra intended for a fucking elephant. It is just awesome. I had a blast throughout this whole movie. I was not bored once. I was thrilled to the very end, and I was prepared to be disappointed because that can happen. Sometimes the hype can be too much. Sometimes it can't live up to the first film, but this movie, it just surpassed so much of the first film. And it's going to be hard to talk about non-spoiler shit because there's a lot of major plot here that involves having to spoil what happens in the first 10 minutes. But I'll just try to summarize briefly. Deadpool 2, it upped the ante, and it definitely had a lot more emphasis and work put into the action part of things. Probably because they had a bigger budget, and the new director is David Leitch, I think that's how I pronounce it, who was one of the co-directors of the first John Wick movie, and in the opening credits, doing what they did in the first film, they credit him as directed by one of the two guys who killed the dog or shot the dog in John Wick. And it wasn't as huge as the funny opening of the first Deadpool, but that's okay. Like, it made up for it by just having Ryan Reynolds be his usual sexist self. And they credited him as someone who apparently loves to hog the spotlight. And the writing for this film was very strong most of the time. There's a few small moments I'll get into later, but it was pretty strong, and the original writers are back. Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, and this is an awesome surprise. Ryan Reynolds has joined them on the writing team, and I don't know if I haven't checked and see if he's written any other movies. Fresh from the Theater vlogs, they are pretty off the cuff, and I don't do as much research as I usually do for the JMC reviews, but it's a Fresh from the Theater vlog. You just wing it after you just saw it, and this film was strong in so many departments, like the editing, especially on the technical side. This film had a great soundtrack, so many songs, and it might be a sign that I'm getting old. I can't remember every single one. The main one that stuck out, maybe because I stayed to the end credits, was 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton, which Deadpool himself pointed out. He said, "Come on, Dolly," and he played over one of the opening action sequences, and that was cool. Like, I saw 9 to 5 many years ago. An old teacher used to play it to try and educate people on sexual harassment. The special effects are pretty impressive. The CGI work is limited to what they need it for, and the CGI on Colossus was extremely well done in the first movie, and Colossus is back, by the way, and they did a very good job here with it. And Josh Brolin as Cable, he was terrific, and even though it's only a small part of his body, the effects work put into his mechanical arm and the webbing of circuits, wires on his body. It's many wires. It was so great. It's a mix. It looks like it was a mix of CGI and practical effects, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it looks like. And they did a very good job of integrating it all, and everybody in this film looks very great. Ryan Reynolds keeps himself in amazing shape, and Josh Brolin, for a guy who I think he may have already turned 50 this year, he looks fantastic, just ripped and very hot, and he pulls off the look of Cable very well. And like I said back in one of my reaction videos on the Movie Buff Reactions channel, I was a little surprised they went with Josh Brolin, because all the other actors they were considering for Cable were in their mid-50s, early 60s. And he was like pushing, like late 40s is not young, but he was younger than all the people they were considering, like Pierce Brosnan, Dolph Lundgren. But he was great, and I thought he looked amazing just from that Meet Cable trailer they had put out a few months ago, and he was just completely badass. He was gruff, tough, but not one-dimensional, and they gave him some good development. Like, the character development was another very strong thing in this movie. Characters do start out a certain way and grow as the film goes on, and like most good films, no character in this film is cut and dry or perfect, and I like that. There is one character, who I'll get into in the spoilers, who was a little one-dimensional, but he's not a major character. I'll re-emphasize, all the major characters get some good character development as the film goes on, and Ryan Reynolds, obviously I gotta talk about him before I go to the spoilers. He just continued playing Deadpool extremely well, but also added more. It felt like the same character. He just at a later point in time, and after going through so much, he's still the same, but there's some changes as well. Just a little bit more of a bleaker outlook on things. And Ryan Reynolds, I've said it once or twice I think before, this motherfucker has come a long way since Van Wilder and all the other dumb comedies he made. He can be funny, he can really fucking act, and the balance of comedy, like over-the-top, crude comedy, and heartfelt, emotional moments is amazing. Like, they can have a very crude joke one moment, and then a few seconds later have just stab in the heart drama, and the balance is amazing. It's like some of the best balancing of genres and tone since, like, Evil Dead 2 did with horror and comedy. Best go-to example I can think of at the moment, and this is a pretty big cast. Morena Baccarin, T.J. Miller, Leslie Uggams, Karen Sony, Brianna Hildebrand, and Stefan Kapicic. I suck at pronouncing names, sorry. They all come back, and I said, they play the same characters, but it's just not a repeat of what they all did in the first film. This was a very good sequel in the sense that it made its own thing, but also retained all the stuff that made the first film so great. And this movie is funny, exhilarating, like just so much action, and at times, like, I heard people tossing the word heartbreak around as I tried to avoid any major spoilers for this movie. But yeah, there were some goddamn just punch in the gut moments. And before I move into the spoilers, here are just the last few non-spoiler things I want to touch on. The opening credit theme, Ashes by Celine Dion. It was just... it's Celine Dion, it's beautiful. Sounds terrific, and saw that very funny music video she did for it, and it's a good parallel to the Angel of the Morning Sun intro of the first one, and still got an amazing voice. And my favorite one-liner, I believe, that was in both the trailer and this film, this is just my favorite. When Deadpool and Cable are fighting initially, and Cable says one of his just great anti-hero lines, Deadpool's like, "You're so dark. You sure you're not from the DC universe?" The meta humor is very strong in this film, and you really have to know a lot of the shit that has been going on with the movies to other movies to really get every single individual thing. But if you only know like half of it, I think you'll still have a good time. And before I get into the spoilers, was there anything that I didn't like that won't give anything away? Yeah, there were a few specific things, just 3 quick ones I'll get into. I'll probably get into a few more in the spoilers, but 3 off-the-cuff things that don't give anything away. There's a wonderfully shot and executed scene where Deadpool and this team he's put together jump out of a plane, just air dive, and the scene before that where he tries to give, like, it's a parody of, I guess, "You make me feel great. Yeah, I'm so proud of you." Those type of scenes, just even though I get the feeling it's making fun of that, it just felt like, I don't know, it was just stalling the much more impressive scene, and I think they could have just jumped right into it. Just my thought. And also, there were a bunch of jokes throughout the film where Deadpool like pokes fun at, I guess, what he perceives as sexism in superhero movies or just superhero teams, and talks about, "We're all about equality here," and the X-Men, that is just sexist name. What do we call it? The X-Force. I mean, I guess it's all about making fun of certain tropes or the way some people react, I guess, but those jokes, I just felt like they were a bit forced. Like, that was sexist, that's bad, but the way I thought they were forced and they weren't really needed. I just felt like they were cramming the equality jokes in there just to, I don't know, appease a certain crowd or something, or to show we're all about equality, and those type of jokes, or just those type of scenes, they just generally feel forced, and it's hard to really take them seriously because it feels like they're just trying to gain points, and it feels like the story could have worked fine just without that shit. And there were a few too many scenes, I feel, where Deadpool talked a bit too much. Just scenes where he's talking to this kid character, and I just felt like they went on a bit too long and could get a little boring at times, just a little too melodramatic, and It's not a big deal, but those are the three main small issues that I had with the film. Just, didn't think they were needed, and like I said, they're small, but that's about it. And lastly, before we get into spoilers, I just want to mention something, and this is just me, because I feel like I have to. In the opening, we see Deadpool trying to commit suicide, because, yeah, that's going to work, where he fills his house with gasoline, just gas, and he's smoking a cigarette, and then, feeling it's time, he just drops it into a barrel of gas, and we see him get blown up, and we see his head just fly around, and the reason I just want to talk about this scene is it felt nice to see smoking in a superhero movie, even if it was just for the gag. It's not like it's meant to be done casually, but I was a little worried that after Fox was bought by Disney, that they were gonna enforce their bullshit no smoking in movies rule. And because I know there was smoking in the first Deadpool, and I was wondering if they gonna have any here. Just, I like seeing smoking in movies, and if anyone who watches me, they know that I smoke. And it's not a major scene, just felt good to see some smoking in movies still. I mean, I wouldn't be so pissed if it wasn't the fact that, like, in Daredevil, the TV show, they make references to smoking, but we never ever see anyone actually smoke. That kind of thing just fucking annoys me, and okay, if you're not going to show smoking, fine, but do not address it so much without ever actually showing it. It feels just like, I don't know, like a mocking tease. Just, yeah, we know it's real, but we won't acknowledge it. It just, maybe it's just because I like smoking so much, it pisses me off. Sorry for the rant, it felt nice to see that this movie got a little in before Disney fully got its claws in it.
For the past couple of years, I've been watching people on YouTube do review shows, where they give their thoughts as well as do a lot of comedy. People like the Nostalgia Critic, the Cinema Snob, the Blockbuster Buster, and so many fucking others. And like all these other movie reviewers, I've given myself a review nickname. It's something that I think will grab people's attention, will let you know immediately that I'm a movie guy. And it's a name I'm sure that no one else has thought of using. The Unusual Suspect. I don't want to sound too full of myself, but it just feels so great when you come up with something so original.
Babe, I think that there's something you should see.
Alright, time for the spoiler section, and you've been warned. You don't want me to ruin anything major for this movie, then stop this video and go see it, and then if you have time, come back, watch, and hear my full thoughts. Starts now. Alcohol-laced coffee. There's nothing like it. Anyway, this film starts with a literal bang. Deadpool, well, Wade, comes home to Vanessa and they exchange anniversary gifts, and I guess if there's any other, like, I'm in the spoilers now, so here are a few other small faults, like, that I have. The romance stuff between Deadpool and Vanessa was a little grating in the opening scene, but I could kind of tell they were going to set it up for something tragic. But still, yikes, this was the worst thing I've seen since the We're Blessed love scenes between Frank Castle and his wife in the 2004 Punisher movie. Just, they're exchanging anniversary gifts, and he gives her a token from the place where they played skee-ball on their first date. And she gives him her birth control implant, saying that she's ready for them to start a family. And I was a little surprised about that. Just didn't picture these two as a family, like having kids type couple. But yeah, and they're all about that. Just, like, I could tell they were gonna set this up for something tragic to happen. But I didn't expect it to happen in the first 10 fucking minutes. I mean, I'm not complaining, just, man, that was fast. And a criminal that Deadpool was unable to kill finds out where he lives and tries to shoot him, and while Deadpool can dodge most of the goons, unfortunately, like, the last bullet the guy fires ends up hitting Vanessa pretty much right through the heart, I think, and she dies right away. And normally I hate it when a beloved character gets killed off almost right away. It's one of the reasons why when I reviewed Blade Trinity back in the day, I called it Blade Cunt Raping Trinity. But here, it was well shot, and as grating as their "we should have a family" kids' names scenes could get, it really packed a punch. It really added to the punch. And after that, we get a couple of scenes, like I said before, with the attempted suicide scene, and a few moments where Deadpool supposedly is on the edge of death, and he continuously has near-death experiences, and apparently the afterlife exists. I mean, it's not surprising. This is a Marvel movie, and it's been established over countless films, whether or not the movies are connected to the others, that the afterlife exists in this shared universe. But yeah, he goes to a version of the afterlife where he sees Vanessa, but he can't fully be with her. Like, there's an invisible wall that prevents him from coming close to her. And she gives him hints on what he needs to do to fully be with her, and it was interesting. The talking back and forth between Wade and Vanessa was well done. Could be powerful at certain moments, and from there, Deadpool just goes on a spiral, and after his attempted death by explosion, he is picked up by Colossus, and brought to the X-Men Manor, where they once again make the joke about how there apparently are no other X-Men here, and like in the first film they said the studio couldn't afford any, and he's like, "Where is everybody?" And as he's yelling at Colossus, and we see right next to Wade that we see all the other X-Men who are apparently trying to hide from him. And what makes this cool, and I was curious, I looked it up. It's all the actors playing the X-Men in the new X-Men, like James McAvoy, Nicholas Hoult, all the people from First Class and Apocalypse, just the younger version of the X-Men, just because we know what universe this is. And they're all there, and they just subtly close the door to keep themselves we have our thing, they have their thing, let's keep it separate. And there were a few funny shots at Wolverine once again, and Hugh Jackman, talking about how Logan was just writing the tales of Deadpool with its R rating, and there's a funny, toy in the beginning like Deadpool has. It's like one of those wind-up toys that plays music, and it's Wolverine lying impaled, just spinning around. Anyway, Colossus tries once again to really get Wade to be an X-Men, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead is back, and apparently she's now a lesbian. Like, she has a girlfriend named Yukio, played by Shioli Kutsuna, and pretty interesting. Like, I looked up, this is apparently the first openly gay character in a Marvel movie, and this is all stuff I just read before I started filming, and apparently one of the deals like the actress wanted, she didn't want it to be made a big deal out of. Just there, and yeah, it was, and I guess it was nice. My one complaint about this aspect is the Yukio character didn't really get much to do. It was just kind of like just the token gay / Asian character that's kind of there. Didn't really do much, and like she had a brief moment near the end where she got to fight, but the character just kind of there, and there's this running gag with her and Deadpool that just got painfully just roll your eyes worthy by the end. Hey, she's better than the Asian chick from The Last Jedi, who I still will say was worse than Jar Jar Binks. However, they almost kind of feel like they came in from some half-assed anime that was put together. I don't know, not much of a big deal, but Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead are back, and she's a little more bitchy in this one. Like, she was already bitchy in the first film, but man. But she came at the end, and she worked with Colossus to kick ass and possibly commit electric anal rape. But it was a bad guy, so I guess it's okay. I'll get into it in a minute. But after going with the X-Men on a mission where they find a young mutant named Fire Fist, played by Julian Dennison, who's like a troubled young teenage mutant who he's tired of living at this place called the Mutant Rehabilitation Center, and he's just like acting out in the way some kids do, just like they scream, "Get away from me, leave me alone." And for some kids, I guess that can be relatable. However, like first of all, totally understandable why he is, and when Deadpool's talking with him, trying to calm him down, the kid reveals that the staff at this place sexually molest the kids there. So Deadpool goes justifiably nuts and shoots one or two of the pedo nurses there. And Colossus, who just doesn't like that Deadpool kills because he's a pussy, puts Deadpool with the kid to be taken to this place that, and once again, I'm not really that much of a comic book guy, so if I seem clueless and retarded about a couple of characters or plot aspects, don't go easy on me, but it would be appreciated if you did. This place is called the Icebox. It's in the icy mountains somewhere, and apparently a type of neck lock thing has been invented that when a mutant wears it, it takes away their powers, and that could have been useful in a couple of the previous X-Men movies. And Deadpool and this fat kid are put in, like, Fire Fist. Part of his, he establishes that he dreamt of being a superhero, but because he was, as he put it, plus size, I just say he's fat. His dreams were dashed, and he goes on a, they discriminate against plus size people, and so they're thinking, yeah, kind of sad, but you being as big as you are, that's kind of your own fault. And while in prison, he and Deadpool, like, they share the cell, and Deadpool has the power draining necklace, which causes his cancer from the first film to come back, and he gets really sick, and it's while they're there that Cable appears, and Cable just comes in out of nowhere about 1/3 of a way into this movie, and transitioning wise, it's put in very well, and he time travels from a dystopian future, carrying an ash-covered teddy bear with him, and obsessively tries to kill Fire Fist, who I think they said his name was Russell, and Deadpool first tries to defend him from Cable, because he's a guy trying to kill a kid. What are you gonna do? And feeling the need to protect him, and also after having another near-death moment with Vanessa, Deadpool goes back to Weasel after he and Cable end up busting out of the prison area, and he assembles a team known as the X-Force. I know there's a few comics about them, but as I said, I don't know really much. And the members of the X-Force include Domino, played by Zazie Beetz. And after that we get Shatterstar, played by Louis Tan. Zeitgeist, played by Bill Skarsgård. Even though it's a brief role, it's a lot better than when he played what that attempt he did at playing Pennywise. And in a fun cameo, Terry Crews as Bedlam. And the only other two I can think of are a guy named Peter, played by Rob Delaney, and this is one of the funniest gags from the trailer. It's where he comes to the superhero team audition, and they ask, "What are your powers?" And he goes, "I don't have any. I just saw the ad and I thought it looked cool." And they were like, "You're in." And even though he doesn't get much, the Peter character was probably aside from Domino, was the funnest one of the X-Force. And the only other one is this guy called the Vanisher, who is supposedly invisible, and for a while it's debated if he's even with them. And the Vanisher, and here's what happens. With the X-Force, they all do this amazing skydive sequence, and all the members except for Domino, who claims her superpower is luck, like nothing bad can happen to her. And it probably sounds dumb, but they make a good job of handling it, and it's funny in the end. And the Domino character was a little annoying with her kind of smug attitude at the beginning, but as it went on, she really became funny and spunky, and she worked well with Deadpool. You can tell, like, of all the ones that lived, of course, it had to be her, because they're awesome together as the film goes on, and she looks very hot, and she kicks good ass, and that afro, just dynamite. Although Jim Kelly would probably wipe his ass with it if he was still alive. And the one known as the Vanisher, like all the members of the X-Force minus Domino, after they come to the ground, their parachutes malfunction due to bad wind, and they all fucking die once they hit the ground. And when the Vanisher dies, like he hits a power line, we finally see what he looks like, and for a moment I was like, is that? I'll look it up. And when I got home, I looked it up, and the Vanisher, for the one fucking moment we see him, is played by Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was a one scene gets killed off superhero in a Marvel movie. Just wow. That is probably the cameo that takes everything home. Just cool. Anyway, before this video becomes over an hour fucking long, try to quickly summarize what happens for the rest of the film that turns out to be the driving force behind most of the story. Russell, the teenage fat mutant, he became bitter about Deadpool leaving. It's a total misunderstanding. Like, he thinks Deadpool abandoned him when really just he got thrown out with Cable, and he went through all this shit just to rescue him. But Russell feels bitter, showing, I guess, the signs of an abused kid, and like all of the kid's bad decisions and emotions, I guess, could be summed up with the whole he was abused and raped at the anti-mutant center place. But there's only so much you can play the they were abused card before you are like, enough. Just some of the things this kid does throughout the film, like in the second half, are just, they just made me, I actually kind of gave up hope for this kid. And we find out that Cable, the reasoning he's come back is Russell grew up to be a full-on fucking villain in the future, and Cable's family were some of the people killed, and he's come back to kill the kid to prevent that future. And Wade, despite being like tossed to the side after rescuing Russell, still wants to save him and believes he could talk some sense into him, bring out the good. And I get it. We've seen this type of story done before, and to its credit, it handled it very well, and while also poking a bit of fun on it, it also pulled off a lot of it very well. However, as the film went on, I found myself, I was on Cable's side, I'll just say it. I was fully supportive of Cable murdering this over-emotional teenager, and it would have been interesting to see, just see a film that would have the balls to have a grown man murder a kid, like a misunderstood kid, and it has been verified. He is the villain of this film, although I guess no studio would have the guts to go that route, and I'm just saying, like, I'm sure maybe people would disagree with me, but if I was in charge, I guess I would have just had him kill the kid. And the scenes of Deadpool trying to talk sense into him, while at times well done dramatically, they were the talking bits that could get a bit boring. But in the end, it all pretty much worked out. Russell goes back to the place where he was abused to kill the man who abused him, some religious nut doctor. And Deadpool, in an attempt to save the kid, takes a bullet from Cable, even though at this point they kind of put aside their differences to work together. And it's seeing Deadpool sacrifice himself to save him that erases any chance of him becoming a villain. Although, once again, would have been fun to see a kid get killed. I know that sounds wrong, but it's a movie, so on some level I think it'd be okay. And Cable, once again showing development, I guess moved by this, and also seeing the ash on the teddy bear disappear. Uses he's limited in how long he can time travel. He only brought enough juice to go back in time and then go back to his time. And he uses his last jump to go back a few minutes and save Wade. And I'll say this, the bromance in this movie is strong. Just the scenes between Deadpool and Cable and Deadpool and Colossus were touching and cool. Just total bros, just total guys, just bringing it in. And there were a couple of homoerotic moments, but they were very welcome as well. And while Cable refuses to show his, I guess, soft side, it was clear there's a connection between him and Wade. And the final afterlife scene before Cable saves Deadpool between Wade and Vanessa, it's just, it was probably the best. And seeing the whole group at the end walking in slow-mo, and also seeing Karan Sony just kill the head pedophile at the center, that was just fun. And the way he got up and was like, I want more, I'm like, oh god. Instead of Russell, I'm wondering, is this guy gonna be the one that turns into a kill crazy psychopath in the future? We'll just have to wait and see. But seeing them all just walk away at the end, just after all the action, was fucking dope. And I noticed in the corner this villain that Russell teamed up with, who called himself the Juggernaut, who was a character that appeared in X-Men The Last Stand. I know he's huge in the comics, and in this film, just a fun fact, I read that he's actually played also by Ryan Reynolds, doing a dual performance, and in the end credits he's billed as himself, like Juggernaut is billed as himself. And Colossus is the only one that could really fight him, and the hugs and the parody of that movie with John Cusack playing music outside the window with Colossus was just... I wish I had a friend like that. And, Colossus fighting Juggernaut, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, and Yukio, I think. They fight him, and during the fight, Juggernaut's jumpsuit gets ripped in the back, exposing his big ass. And Colossus takes an electrical cord and literally shoves it up his asshole. And that was by far the craziest moment in the film, and therefore gained some of my biggest laughs from this viewing. And then they kick him into a little pond where he kind of continues to fry, just go up in electric shocks. And then at the end, as they're walking away, notice that the camera's panning in the corner, we see him still writhing in the water as his ass is electrically raped. And I wonder, is he gonna come back, and is he gonna be probably even more pissed? Because there's a scene where he ripped Deadpool in half, and we saw guts, blood just spewing out of the upper and lower half. And yeah, he was a big pissed motherfucker. And after that, we get a bunch of mid-credit scenes, no end credit, after credit sequence. And we see, apparently Negasonic Teenage Warhead is a machine expert, because she fixes the time travel thing and gives it to Wade, and so he can do some shit. And the mid-roll credit scenes just kept going, and I loved her reaction with her girlfriend, where they're just like, what have we done? And we see Deadpool go back, and okay, I like this film a lot, but this ending just confused the hell out of me. Deadpool goes back and he saves Vanessa from getting killed, which, okay, and that just... He saves Peter as well, which I kind of like, because of all the X-Force members who died, Peter was probably the most likable. And so he saves the best characters who died, and it's never addressed whether or not this affected anything. Like, I love Vanessa, but the way they handled everything, the film could have worked fine if she had stayed dead, or if they had brought her back in the next movie. Like, I'm okay with bringing a beloved character back from the dead, but when you do it in the same movie they died in, and so soon after they died, just... that kind of bugs me a bit. But then, we see him go back in time to... I don't know when, the events of X-Men Origins Wolverine, where I guess really, give the fan base a nice, comfortable hand job. They show Ryan Reynolds as the current Deadpool, murdering the Deadpool of that movie with a sewn mouth. And I was disappointed to find out, before I looked it up, it's Wolverine appears, but it's all archive footage, which was cool, but it would have... Man, I'm with everybody. People need to get on their knees and open their mouths wide to get Hugh Jackman to do it Wolverine one last time, it seems, like with Deadpool. Like, I'm with a group of people, we all would like that. And we also, once again, breaking the fourth wall completely. We see Deadpool go back in time, and where we see him shoot Ryan Reynolds in the head. Like, yeah, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool shoots him as himself in the head after, back in time when he said yes to the Green Lantern script. And this ending was very funny in the second part, but it was confusing. Like, it would have worked fine if the characters didn't come back to life that he saved, but I'm also wondering, how is this going to affect everything? But I'm probably thinking too hard. It's a Deadpool movie. It's not supposed to make sense, just the film reviewer in me would just... I scratch my head and wonder. One thing I want to address is the scene where Deadpool's legs are growing back, where he has the upper body of a grown man and the legs of a baby, apparently. And if you thought that little hand was disturbing, oh, this is like David Lynch levels of nightmare fuel. It was funny, but ugh. And the funniest part of that scene was where, well, two funny parts is where he got Blind Al to apparently grope him on it, just tricked her, and when he crosses his legs, parroting Basic Instinct, and even though mentioning what the joke is can kind of ruin it, TJ Miller going, that's his Basic Instinct, that worked very well. And TJ Miller's one scene with Cable, also a very cool scene where he's like, I'm afraid, and when I get afraid I get a boner, and Cable's like, and he's like, don't look at it. That's it. I don't know what else to say. Go see Deadpool 2 in the fucking theater. It is totally worth getting out of the house for. And on the 10-star scale, taking into account my small flaws, although thinking hard, I think they're maybe just, they fall into the nitpick category, which I don't like going into too much, but I'd say on the 10-star scale, I'd give this movie an 8.6. Just marvelous, adrenaline rushing, and on the 5-star scale, I give it a 4.5. It's kind of like Men in Black. It's at that level, and the only reason it's not higher is it's not, say, 12 Angry Men great. And, so that's that. I hope you like this vlog, and if you want to see more videos, by all means do so. And if anyone's interested, I have a second YouTube channel called Movie Buff Reactions, and if you want to check that out, please do. And if you like what you see on both of my channels, subscribe. See you in whatever video I make next, and hope I do another Fresh from the Theater vlog soon. Allow me to awkwardly sign off as I do with later.